Again, going old school. Everything connected. I'm not used to doing it on the mobile anymore. And everything's through the phone. It looks crystal clear for me, but I know this is going to be uploaded at shitty 720. But might as well turn that microphone off and not going through there. Hopefully everything's being recorded okay. It's been a long time since I've done it this way. But we did our normal feed this morning, and the weather started getting bad. Of course, now it's clear. It got windy, and then we lost internet. So we'll go back to the other system as soon as we have it. But by God, I'm going to get some painting done today, and the easiest way for me to do it is to make sure that we're streaming this way. Otherwise, well, now I've lost the color I had where I was at. I missed my spot, but anyhow, we had some good folks on, but got disconnected. And I was just mentioning, hey, hope I don't get disconnected. If I do, it's because of, and I got disconnected. I don't know if I was in mid-sentence what happened, but wanted to go check on the weather to see how much longer it lasted. And I was about to say, it's almost over. Well, I didn't realize I was talking about my feed. So, anyhow. I am going to get these Moldavian Nights done this weekend. Okay, back to doing the socks on these guys. And I guess it's better than losing power. As I lose power, then I've actually done that before. I've actually done I was in the middle of painting one of my armies, my Nan Chao, and there was a hurricane nearby. I think it was a hurricane nearby. I mean, it wasn't any danger of hitting here necessarily, but we lost power, and I have this little set of almost like a set of flashlights, a double pair of flashlights that I can put on the side of my head and illuminate. And I painted 3 or 4 stands without any power, with battery powered, because it's actually pretty bright. And had to do that, but with no internet, we're done. Back to doing it the dumb way at 7:20. So the show will go on. I don't know why it dropped, because I think the cable modem feeds all underground, so it must have been a feeder issue. No, still no internet on the computer. We'll switch back over to the computer as soon as it goes back on. So. That was kind of amusing. Well, coincidences and irony. If I ever find out where those 2 bitches live, I'm gonna go pay them a visit. Yeah, that's a shitty superpower I have. I hope I don't lose power off. Yeah. Well, I noticed it was getting really, really windy. I mean, it was like gusts and stuff for no reason, which is what, issues happen with. I was expecting to lose power, not losing internet. Obviously, one goes with the other, but yeah. So now we're having to do this the old dumbass way of, with a mobile feed, I'm limited to 720p. So if it looks like crap, well, that's as good as it's going to get, unfortunately. There's, even though my connection, my speed on my phone in 5G is actually faster than the internet cable modem is here. It's slightly faster. But that's just one of those things where YouTube finds out that Oh, you're not feeding that through an actual house? Well, we're going to limit you to 720. And we did that for a few years. So hopefully the sound's coming in okay. I haven't done it this way without the microphone and everything in a long time. But hey, it's either that or I can stop painting, and that's not going to get these guys done. So I am not the internet expert. The wife is. And I went ahead and texted her. I said, hey, whenever you get up, because she's out of town right now, we just had the internet go down. She's like, oh, already filed a complaint. I'm like, okay, good. You're on it. You're on it. We have a we have a business line. She does some work from home, and that's supposed to give us quicker turnaround in fixing it. But like I said, it doesn't make any sense that we lost it as soon as it died down because literally it's not even windy anymore, and I don't think it's even raining. Mother Nature on the rag. Like I said, it could be worse. I could have lost power, and then I'd have to paint with those little lighted goggles on. Okay, we're gonna call this guy done. We're gonna call this guy done, and I'll try to zoom in here, but you guys aren't gonna be able to get a good picture because 720 is just garbage. And to think that we watch TV at 480 looks okay on my screen, but now the big boy. Let's do the big boy. Oh, this isn't normally up all the time. Sounds good. Okay, good. All right, let's set these guys off to the side. Those are very unusual shields. Yeah, they're kind of. This one doesn't follow the rules of heraldry. I saw this actually was somebody's idea online. The rules of heraldry is that you have when you have one of the main colors, whether it's red or blue or green or purple or anything like that, purple more unusually. Um, the shape, not the painting. Yeah, they're kind of the Eastern Hussar type shields. I guess it kind of makes sense if you think about the shape. You can fit it underneath here, and it protects, protects side of your body. But those don't really apply to the rule where you have to have the white or the yellow in between those colors. So when you look at stuff that predates heraldry, like you look at some Norman shields or something like that, you'll have like red and blue next to each other, and it just looks strange. And your eye gets used to, at least my eye gets used to seeing those things. And when you see something that breaks that rule, it kind of looks odd. Like for instance, I think that the modern Russian flag looks really weird because the red and the blue are touching each other, right? Because it's white, whatever it is, it's white, blue, red, or whatever, and the blue and the red are next to each other, and it just looks like somebody designed it wrong. You just, after seeing so many things, your eye gets used to having that dividing line um, of either yellow or white, and they represent silver or gold is really what the representation is, and you get used to seeing that over and over again. But that's a pretty much a Western European phenomenon that and I'm sure there's exceptions to what that rule is, but when you see things that don't conform to that, you're like, man, something's wrong with that painting. I don't understand the colors. All right, we're gonna go and wet this some more, see if we can't bring the center of this paper back to life because this one's died quicker than anything else. But we did do a very long painting session yesterday, about 4 hours, and where it was out in the open, and even though it is, you could still squeeze it and get moisture out. I mean, I don't know why. Let's try to add some more water to this and see if we can't bring this back to life. still, I'd rather lose power all weekend and not have rain on Monday. So I'm telling you, rain at work is just freaking miserable for what I do. So I could deal without power. I can always adjust my plans on the weekend. On a work day, I still have to get the work stuff done, so it might as well not be in shit conditions, you know? All right, so we need a white horse. That's a constant that we're not going to stray from. Oh, now I can't pull up Pinterest. Well, I can't pull up Pinterest on my computer. Yeah, let me just take a... God, I hope I don't screw this up. Let me just take one moment, see if I can get away with this. Let's not tamper with it. Let's just leave it alone. It was a white horse with red trappings on it. That's what we're going to go with. Something happens a little later, and I'm like, oh man, that wasn't exactly how I wanted it. I can fix it. And we're going to use this silver gray as a base, not white. Oops, I was disconnected. Did you miss something? No, I was disconnected too. I don't think you got disconnected. Well, you may have gotten disconnected also, but I was the one that was disconnected. I said, hey, I hope I don't get disconnected on this. And then poof, we lost internet, which doesn't make any sense because the internet is underground. Oh, well. Technology sucks. The show will go on. Unfortunately, as I was mentioning, Pierre, I don't think you've been on this channel long enough to, I used to have to do this through the mobile connection, which I have a plenty fast connection, but YouTube, once they know that your feed is through a mobile connection, they dumb down your feed to 720. So if you're wondering why my picture doesn't look good as it normally does, well, there's nothing I can do about that. That's just one of those things, And I don't know why, because my speed on my phone is actually faster than the internet. But I'll say it again. I don't know how to make it better. Get the internet to come back up, and then we'll start the feed on that. All right, so we're going to do this, and let's mix. Yeah, we'll use black. Hell with it. I am not a fan of putting every single general on a white horse. I'm not that guy. But there's lots of paintings of this dude, and he's always on a white horse. So that ought to tell you something. Like Alexander, I would never put Alexander the Great on a white horse. His horse was black with a star on his forehead. Well, that's how I would do him. And I don't know if a vast majority of my armies have a white horse. I know my Julius Caesar figure's on a white horse. El Cid's on a white horse. That may be it. That may be the only two guys that I have on a white horse that are the commander. That's a good question. I'll have to look at that. What color horses are my commanders on? Dracula's not on a white horse. That wouldn't exactly fit. I don't necessarily go with a painting because most of the time it's just guesswork anyways. But at least you get to see what it looks like before you do it yourself. I'm like, I like how that looks, or maybe I don't like how that looks. Have to check from time to time. And it feeds a little bit different. I got to go back to press this thing to see if there's any comments. So if it takes me a little while to respond to you, don't worry, I'm still here. I just don't know why the internet went out when it did. It's kind of like the Titanic capsizing in New York Harbor. Like, dude, you made it all the way across the freaking Atlantic. Why now? Just when we'd have all the Saturday stuff taken care of. Well, we had a lot of problems with the internet yesterday. Something was going on. But I'm not going out of town tomorrow, so we should have plenty of painting to do this weekend. Plenty of opportunity to get this guy done. And I don't care that it's raining. It's not going to keep me from spraying this guy. I have sprayed in the garage. Well, I spray in the garage. And, or as you guys say across the pond, garage. And in the middle of a thunderstorm. So lots of humidity. Never had any frosting issues with the sealer. So I'm not going to be one of those, don't run your mouth, it'll happen this time. Hasn't happened yet. And I've done it, I don't know, 50 times or more. So I don't suspect it's going to happen. And I even did a how I spray my figures video. I don't know that it's gotten a lot of views, but because all I hear all the time is people having issues with that. And that's an unfortunate issue to have because, you know, you're done with a figure and then you have a fiasco like that happen to you. That's really frustrating. But I just figured, hey, here's the pointers that I do and how I do them, and maybe it's helpful to some of you. Ah, the Germans are showing up. Welcome, Mr. Peter. You missed the good feed. Now you're in the now we're all in the crap seats because the internet went down at home. So we're back how like we used to do it on the crappy quality video, unfortunately. Until the internet comes back on. Still no internet. No internet, but it's secured. Well, that's comforting. If anybody could get into your connection, which they can't because it's secured, then they'd get a shitty. They'd find out they didn't have it. They wouldn't have one connection. Oh, thanks. Uh, well, this is the last Moldavian fool right here. So once we get this guy done, and there's not a whole lot of accoutrements on this guy. Once this guy's done, we have to start working on the poles because they're going to need to dry a little bit before I seal them. And we'll work them at the same time. That would be the time to work on Castle Brand, but I think I'm going to jump right into the poles. Castle Brand, when I get tired of painting poles, I'll break off and do it. We need to get some allies for these guys because I want to run this army in an open, but man, they need some more firepower or some more strength. Unfortunately, the strength for these allies is going to come in the flavor of definitely 2 knights. And you know how I feel about knights, so they look pretty, but kind of leave you hanging sometimes. Which it was nice. If you watched that Dracula video the other day, Mitch had the problem that I hate about knights, and he left him hanging. Their core number is just too small against foot. Three is just too small. And I'm not saying it should be changed to something bigger. I'm just saying I don't have a lot of confidence in it. You dream of actually seeing your armies live. Let me know when you go on the next cruise and where you leave the key. Well, if any of you guys that watch, and you're ever in Florida, you let me know and we'll put a game together and we can come. You can come game with us. You've seen our games. You know what we expect. We expect you to have a good time. If you don't have a good time, well, you're not welcome. But I've had two people take us up on the offer. One guy was, man, I don't remember where I want to say he's from Michigan, and he came down and yeah, I had a good time with Scott. I think I want to say he's got family in Florida, so I think he had a good time, and I think he'll probably make it back next time he's in the area. But with enough people flocking to Florida, you would think that we would get more of you guys coming down, but it's not like I'm going to pack up and go to Germany. Sorry. That was the year that COVID hit. What was that? 2019, 2019, 2020, one of those two. That was the year that I think it was 2020 was the year that we were going to go to Europe finally for the first time. My wife has been as a child, as a small child. I've never been, and we were going to go on a cruise. I think that's the way to go for starters. But that didn't happen. So I don't know. With the current situation, and I don't necessarily mean the current situation, but ever since COVID, the chances of going to Europe are slimmer and slimmer. Just with it being really inconvenient and time off just being a major pain in the ass to try to get. You're flying to Canada next Wednesday. Around April 1st, I'll be driving from Ontario to Las Vegas, at least as far as the gas money holds out. It hasn't gone up that high. It's gone up. Diesel is the problem. It's gone up. I think last weekend diesel went up 75 cents a gallon over the weekend. That's just crazy. That's what's going to drive everything up. You can control your unleaded, but you can't control. And I work in logistics, so I see it every day. You can control how much you drive in your own personal vehicle, but you can't control how much fuel it's going to take to get tomatoes to you or whatever. So main thing is make sure there's availability. Because if there's no availability, it doesn't really matter how cheap or how expensive the gas is. You can't get it, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about people waiting in these long lines and people's short tempers, and I'm just not going to deal with people's nonsense, you know, misbehaving and stuff like that when we're all in the same boat. So as long as that doesn't happen, I'm good with whatever it is. We'll live through it or whatever. Your gas prices went from 1.7 euro a liter in February to, I think you meant 2.0. Yeah, what is it, like 4 liters in a gallon? 220. Is it like 4 liters in a gallon, something like that? Close enough? Okay. Yeah, so you were already paying too much, and now you're going to pay more. No, none of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense what's happening, but I've said that a million times, you know. You know, you guys have trouble getting gas from, from the east. That'd be a perfect opportunity to start making it here and we'll sell to you guys. We're friendly. Why isn't that an option? I don't know. I'm not corrupt though. So, I might actually come up with ideas that don't work because they don't involve somebody getting a take on it, getting a cut of it. We were at US 608 a gallon in Australia. It's the diesel, man. The diesel. What are we at right now? And we're kind of in a high gas area because I live in a college town that is anti-industry. Let's see. I want to say it was close to about 350 for regular. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. It's close to four. It's close to $4 a gallon for regular. And I don't put regular in my car. I have a little turbo rice burner, so I put the 93 octane in. So, but I can control. I'm only getting, a tank of gas is lasting me a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. I can control that. I can deal with it. You want the lucky ones? You're on central heating. A local incinerator supplies steam to heat our house. I feel sorry for those on gas. Yeah. Why do you guys have to get gas from the friggin' Russians, man? I don't understand that. It should be like a wake up call. Like it should be a wake up call for people, for every country to be more self sufficient after the stuff that's happened since COVID. It should be like a wake up call, like a no brainer. No brainer. You shouldn't have to compromise your morality or what you feel about things just because, well, if I don't deal with these bad guys, then we starve or, we don't have any gasoline or heat or whatever. Should all be more self-sufficient. Make better deals with better people. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm a pacifist. I don't want us to be fighting each other, but part of me hopes that if China goes into Taiwan, we just boycott the living shit out of them too, and then we'll like either starve or we finally have to make our own stuff. You know, part of me really wants that to happen so that we can, well, that assumes somebody's going to have the balls to say we're not going to deal with China, and then and then nobody will go to Walmart because there won't be any merchandise on their shelves. A pipeline to the USA is not yet available. Well, we need to work on that shit. We got some dumbass leaders. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm pretty sure Germany's not going to rise again and become our nemesis. So, why can't we sell to them? I don't know. I'm just on the outskirts, just looking at alternative solutions. And then, of course, one of my personal things I'm the most against is being held hostage. Like I don't do well in hostage situations. So I don't buy it's bad for the environment. So it's bad to pull gas or oil or whatever out of this part of the world where damn well, accidents happen. They're always going to happen. But we're going to be damn a lot better at keeping those accidents from happening than somewhere in Russia where they just like We have to seal the we have a problem with the mine and it's spillage. Oh, just drop nuke on it and seal it up. You know we're not going to do shit like that. You know. So if you're worried about the environment, you know, you're going to be more conscious and make better decisions in in a place like this than you are in Siberia. I would think. Your diesel's at 632. Yeah, that drives everything. We buy all from China because it's cheaper. We bought gas from Russia for the same reason. It shouldn't be. People need to make better decisions. We shouldn't deal with bad folks. Sorry. Yeah, and it sucks now, but we're gonna have to get used to it. I have this theory, and I'm not an economist, but I did make an A in economics, okay, back in like 1991. Okay, so I have a foothold on some of the common sense. I had this theory that because we bought all this cheap shit from these places, it hasn't increased how much we get paid. So our standard of living, we don't need, quote unquote, we don't need that extra money to buy these more expensive things. Our things have kept the same price or cheaper, so our wages have stagnated. If they would have raised, they would have raised along with our things being more expensive. It's kind of like, with the housing market. In the last couple of years, the houses have really increased in property, which is great if you want to sell a house and not buy another one. But if you have to sell a house and then turn around and buy another one that costs that much more, what are you really gaining? Nothing. Now, if you're sitting on 12 houses and you're like, man, I really wish I'd only had three, and the houses go up in price, bam, sell nine of them and you make a killing. But I don't know. Just running my freaking mouth. I don't have the solutions, but I tell you what, I don't think I wouldn't make it in government. I'm just not corrupt. Scary thing is how much we can affect the Russian backs and ATM cards exposes a vulnerability in our own systems. To us Germans, China is as big a threat as Russia was. I think they're the bigger enemy. I don't know what's going on in Russia. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not a conspiracy person. I keep saying that, and I don't believe in conspiracies. But I've read a couple of them, and they seem really outlandish. And if some of the stuff starts coming true, then I'm still a skeptic. I just, you know, the thing about Russia is Russia. I read a couple years ago has a population problem. European countries, and I'm going to throw in the United States as one of them, although we're kind of a little different situation. Have a population growth issue. They're not producing as many people, and you got some of these other places like China that just have so many people, so they can outproduce you. Russia can't outproduce the United States. They couldn't in the Cold War, and they can't now. But the Chinese are, nefarious and can outproduce you. So that's like a double danger. But anyhow, I don't know what's going on in Ukraine. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I don't even listen to the news anymore because I'm wondering we're not getting the whole picture. That doesn't mean I think Putin's a good guy. I think he's a dick, but I don't think he's an idiot. Um, I think he's a sharp guy. So it doesn't make any sense to me. The casualties didn't make any sense from day one. You know, they said, oh, the first day they lost 60 people. Well, you invaded a whole country and only lost 60 people. Either there was nobody there or it just it's just weird. It's just really weird. So, and then saying that he wasn't going to go in and then turning around and then going in. I mean, you just lost all credibility, you know. So why would you put that at risk? It just doesn't make any sense. And I don't have any like set things where I'm like, nope, this is, I think I'm willing to learn every day and the situation changes, but it doesn't make any sense. China's population has not been growing for the last 15 years. Oh, there's a good news. I don't care that it's Chinese people. It's the people at the top. I mean, my dad came over from a country that was, that was oppressed. So I get it. The people there are screwed. They're being used. Not been growing at least 15 years. By 2050, they may be down by half. So they have a huge problem. Nobody to make cheap stuff for us. You know, they're just going to have to make more expensive things, and they're going to have to pay us more. Not to worry, India and Mexico will take up the slack. So I went to Mexico recently, and my parents have some really good friends in Mexico that have dual citizenship that we talk about these things all the time with. So when I went to Mexico, Putin wait until the Olympics are over, not to upstage China. Well, I get that. I understand why they did that, but why would he vehemently say he's not going in and then turn around and going in? Because all of a sudden he's got zero credibility. I mean, unless the other people he's dealing with also have zero credibility and they kind of know that, nah, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. So I just went to Mexico recently, and we were staying in a city that was, unbeknownst to me, the largest port in Mexico. And their entire port is full of Chinese vessels with Chinese stuff on them, even though the labor in China is super cheap, is in Mexico super cheap, they still import their stuff from China. So unless we find a way to make the Chinese stuff more expensive, I don't see that changing. Or saying, well, we're not gonna deal with them anymore. I don't care that it's Chinese stuff. I care that just they're nefarious. Sorry, populations of all countries other than in Africa are shrinking. Well, let's make stuff in Africa. They can use the work. They know how to make coffee to start. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Luckily, fortunately, I don't worry about it. I really am kind of like an agnostic when it comes to current events. I'm just like, if you're going to give me all this false information or this questionable stuff, I'm just going to tune out. I got a friend of mine who's living under his bed. He's ever since COVID hit, like he won't step outside, and he's afraid of nuclear war, and I mean, all that stuff may happen, but I'm not going to worry about it because we're all going to end up in the ground somehow. But whereas I've been annoyed, he's been terrified. So, you know, but I know that the media, and I mean media from all sides, in my eyes, has lost so much credibility in this century. They just don't have any credibility anymore. And it's not like, well, I want to watch the media that reinforces my positions. Just tell me what's going on. I'm a big boy. I can make up my own decisions, but less things are being made in China, and production is moving to other countries such as Vietnam and Ethiopia. Good. Good. And I hope the Chinese people get their freedom during my lifetime or sooner. It's not them. It's not like because, oh, I don't like Asian people's making my stuff. You know, it's got nothing to do. You don't like Asian people. I don't want to drive a car that's not Japanese. I don't. until they start making shitty products, you know. So in the words of Tom Lehrer, I actually know who that is. We all go together when we go. Yeah. Is this still doing stuff? Is he still doing newscast? I don't know. Seems like a guy that's not fun at parties, though. And how do you know about him all the way over there? Get your own newscast, people. You don't have to use ours. Yeah, the media coverage for me is turned a little bit into like kind of like the Catholic Church in the late Middle Ages. You know, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And maybe some other things, but that's the first example I could think of. You know, you have a brain. You were given a brain for a reason, and hopefully you're practicing it every day. Make your own conclusions. You know, it's hard to get to this one little spot, but I will get into it. I know there's faster ways to paint this, but hell, I enjoy this. This is my therapy, so I'm not hiding under a bed. Well, I'm gonna have too many cokes this weekend. Oh well, we all have our addiction. I don't drink, so there you go. I'll be right back. Get another one. Dun, 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 dun. Time for bed. Good luck solving the world's problems. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I like to talk about. At least I'm not worried about it. I think the only way they're going to be solved is those of us that are kind of in the middle and are uncorruptible. Things get really bad for us, and we have to step in. And I don't know what that means, but I'd never make it in politics because you couldn't get me to change my morality based on giving me a yacht. It's just not me. I'm just not. I value being able to sleep at night really high. And I wouldn't make it very far, you know. And I'm anti-corruption. I don't give a, and I've thought about this. I definitely skew to one side than the other. Um, but I'm willing to hang the people that I supposedly think are good guys if they're corrupt. And there's a lot of people that wouldn't, you know, because corruption is, you know, if you're telling me the sky's, you know, if I'm living in a bunker and you're telling me the whole day, you know, all the time that the sky is one color, and then I get out and find out that it isn't, I'm mad as hell, you know. But luckily, the only thing that's really annoying is the whole diesel fuel going up, because that just really affects everything else, you know. And there's just a lot of people that are just like, they're going to stay by their one side no matter what. They can be presented with all the evidence in the world, and they're just not going to change their thinking. And and I think that's most people. And I don't know. I do not know. All right, let's add a little bit of white. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy. Everybody gets lied to, and your government, whoever you are, will always lie to you the most. That's why it's such an eye opener when you travel and realize things are not as you were told. Well, I grew up thinking government was, and I mean government here because this is all I have that I've been exposed to. The government is not evil or nefarious or lying to you. They're just slothful, incompetent, and some people are corrupt. But I may have it wrong. I may have it wrong. That's why I was really disappointed the first day that the Ukraine thing went off. I was really disappointed because I would think that I would think that we would be past the point where we would have conflicts that weren't grounded in stupid religious zealots. That's like it's still a bad reason, but I could see that going on. Okay, there's no religious differences going on there. Why is this even happening? I'm looking at it from the outside though. So, you know, I just thought we'd be, you know, I'm just very disappointed that that even happened because I just don't see it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I had it all wrong. Maybe all the governments have been lying to us the whole time tremendously. And regardless of who's in office. And that's very disappointing. Because you know they're incompetent too. Okay, so it's their lawyers and incompetent. Oh man, it's good. I'm not worried about that kind of stuff because there's really nothing I can do about it. So maybe I have it all wrong. I'm willing to readjust what I think is, and I'm like one of those. No, it's been the whole thing. Except communists. Communists have never been up to no good. No, I'm not. I'm not buying that. I'm inflexible on that one. Communists and many other ists. Just live in a happy bubble that I think things are one way in or something else. But I've mentioned this before. If all of a sudden you snap your fingers and there was no laws here in the US, I don't think I'd behave any differently. I mean, laws aren't made to control me. I know how to behave. They're made for, well, some people just doesn't make a difference. But maybe I'm the minority. Maybe people would just go freaking mad and just, and punch babies in the face just because they felt like it. Hey, you never know what you're going to talk about here, right? We're talking about punching babies in the face. No, I don't need laws to behave, you know? Putin wants to make Russia great again. He wants to restore the landmass of Soviet Union control, but he doesn't want to go back to communism. Okay. But that's not really the way to go about it. It doesn't make any sense that he would go about it that way. I don't think he's a dumb guy. Definitely he's power hungry. Look how short he is. There's your first thing. Short dude's taking over the world again. At least he doesn't have a mustache. I get that. There's just got to be better ways to go about it. And then if you're going to go about it, why are you going about it so damn slow? And where's this frontline troops? Where's all the new equipment? Are they worried about getting it? Is it hanging out in Belarus? And if Belarus is hanging out with them, why aren't we boycotting Belarus? I just got a lot of questions that just don't add up. They just don't add up. I'm not saying he's a nice guy. He's obviously not a nice guy, but I don't think he's stupid. And he's making decisions that just don't make any sense. What's the Russian Air Force? The second biggest Air Force in the world? And they don't have air superiority? How the hell do you not have air superiority? It doesn't make any sense. Where's the rest of the planes? He wants to leave it like, I get it. I understand why he's doing it. But those of us that are war gamers, we don't glorify war. I mean, war sucks, okay? But it's very interesting, and it's the same. I use the same analogy, like it's a horror movie, and it's fascinating. Not necessarily fascinating now, but the stuff that happened a long time ago, that I mean, that's why I get interested in it. Not glorifying war. War's terrible, but that's just the stuff that's happening over there makes no sense from a wargaming standpoint. It doesn't make any sense at all. Where's all the good troops? Are they facing China? Are they going to go somewhere else? Their strengths on paper. I don't know. What if he goes after the Baltic countries? You can't have World War III. I mean, you basically have to do everything to avoid World War III. So, I bet I could talk some sense into him. What exactly is it that you need? China has a bigger air force than Russia? Wow. I don't know. Okay, I think that's quite enough. We can come tinker that with him once we're done with his other stuff on this. So let's go ahead and get. Oh, this guy's got a cool face. He looks a bit like a seal. You know, like seal. I don't know who this figure is supposed to be based on. So let's go ahead and let's metal him up and non-oil him and bring that up to where it needs to be. So I've said again, one of the worst inventions ever was nuclear weapons. If nuclear weapons weren't a thing, you'd have so many more options. Oh well. NATO starts to shoot, then Putin will need the good old stuff to defend Russia. Chinese have a land conflict with Russia. And if they sense a weakness, they might make a move. Well, they have been historically not friends. Yeah, you can't trust those. You can't trust the Chinese people at the top for nothing. Those guys are like the double crossers of double crossers. So, maybe all the other Russian hardware is facing the Chinese just in case they, pull a fast one on them. The problem, of course, is Poland. I think the problem is Poland because let's say Putin decides to go in for the Baltic countries. I could see turning a blind eye, but not that I want to do that. But if they went into Poland, hopefully smart enough not to do that. That's going to be a bad decision. The poor Poles are stuck in the middle of it again. And think without nukes, we would have more wars. He's considered a viable tool of diplomacy still. I think you're right. I think you're right, Jared. He thought Ukraine would be a pushover. It's not. He blew his chance when he took the Crimea. Then the Ukrainians were more weak. Not anymore. Why did he attack Ukraine in the, what's it called? The muddy season, Ratiputsa or whatever it's called. I don't speak Russian. You know, this is like the wrong time to attack. This is like the mud season. Have you never read a freaking history book? You know, it screwed the Germans twice. It screwed the Russians at least three times. And that's just in the Second World War. You know, you're not going to go anywhere. Now, the road net's a lot better than it was back then, but still, you know, why would you attack now? Why wouldn't you wait till summer? May. You're going to still have the same leadership. It's not like, well, we need to attack while this weak so-and-so is still in office. Well, he's still going to be in office. If that's a consideration. I'd probably say it correct if I could see it. If I could see it spelled. Why would you attack in the mud season? He's KGB expert, not military expert. That's true. I'm a specialist on all things KGB, not military. I don't know. Have the Russians ever had a military expert? I don't know. Let's just hope this gets resolved sooner rather than later. You know, I guess maybe that is the best result you can hope. That that we are seeing the feed of what's really happening, and they'll get stymied, and eventually have some kind of a minor revolt, or their soldiers say, you know, F this, we're not going to fight, and then everybody in the army just wants to just lose strength and they negotiate something. I guess that's probably the best scenario. I don't know that there's a better scenario other than that. And also, I don't understand why assassinating people isn't an issue. It isn't a viable thing, because let's say you wanted to save lives, go and take, if it's one guy causing all the trouble, go take him out, because the innocent people on both sides don't deserve this. You know, let's say all the Ukrainians are neo-Nazis. Okay, let's just throw something crazy out there. It could be true, but I find it very hard to believe that. The people that are farmers and are getting their houses blown up and stuff like that, they don't deserve that stuff. So go in, you know, go in and take, you know, send in your Spetsnaz if that's what you're trying to do. Take out those people and job done, if that's really what you're after. And same thing, if you want to get rid of Putin, send somebody in, and or some people's in, and take the guy out. Because it's the innocent people that are the, you know, I mean, the people at the top leadership everywhere are nefarious. But the people that are just trying to go by their normal lives, man, they just want to go home and see their family. I don't know. I was in charge, we'd assassinate people. It doesn't make any sense. So hopefully it gets resolved in the middle of my feed here, and I can stop my feed and find out that there's peace talks. But I still can't believe it happened or is happening. It's just something so far-fetched. No one dares contradict them. Seen that before. Yep. That little mustachioed dude. Politicians will never be okay with political assassination. That would put themselves in a crosshair. That's exactly why we need to do them. That's exactly why we need to do them. Need to resolve your conflicts with DBA. We'll have a tournament. The best DBA player wins. It just doesn't make sense that all this happened in this day and age. It just doesn't make sense. So, is there more to this than we're seeing? Maybe there isn't. Wonder what my dad would think. I was thinking about that all his time. He's a very wise person when it came to stuff like this. He would have had some really interesting things to say during the COVID thing. And I'm wondering what he would think about all this. But he wasn't very, yeah, he's definitely was opinionated. He never understood why the Western Allies made a deal with the Russians to begin with. You know, I still remember him saying, the Russians had to fight the Germans whether they wanted to or not, and they double crossed the West. I always said, screw those guys. You know, that would be good. We'd have a bullet point rule set within a week in language everyone understood. Assassinations have happened. You just don't want to get caught. Ask the CIA in most countries south of Mexico. Yeah, I couldn't work for the CIA. Imagine doing your job, you think you're making a difference, and then your own people double cross you. Hell no. That's like vendetta. They have to make a movie about what I want to do to people. You don't double cross your own people. I wouldn't fit in well with that. I wouldn't fit in well. And also, as soon as I found out that the country I was working for was being nefarious, I'd be like, well, I'm out. Let's screw this. This is not what I thought it was. I wouldn't do well in that. But there's all kinds of things I'm not good at. Hey, I'm just a stupid painter. I probably should have used something golden for that little armor underneath it. Let's do that. I tried using a little bit of blue to change the little. There's a little bit of chainmail poking out there. We got to do some kind of gold accents on this guy. We don't need to go ape shit, but let's see what we got here gold wise. Just a little too bright. Let's start with this one. You would love Tom Clancy novels. I don't read nonfiction, okay, but I have, and I've read Red Storm Rising, and actually, on my flight to Mexico, I started picking it up again, and what was cool is since I have the book, I was listening to it on Audible while I was looking at the pages on the book, and that worked for a little bit, and then I just kind of lost interest. But I have read Red Storm Rising. I think that's it. I enjoyed that book when I read it the first time because there's a little bit for everybody. There's so many characters that if you don't care about one thing, there's somebody else that's at least interesting. Who's the guy I'm painting? Stuff in the Grate. Uh-oh, hold on a second. What is this? I didn't know you were listening to my feed. Excellent. Yeah. I like my dad too, and I've thought about him a lot lately. And he wasn't a war gamer, but he definitely gave me my love for geography and history. He was a very well-rounded person. Unlike me, I don't think I'm very well-rounded. There's just some subjects I just don't give a shit about, and that's okay. As somebody said the other day, I can't be into everything. There's just some things I'm just not interested in, and he was kind of interested in everything. And but he wasn't a gamer. Um, he was kind of old school. I mean, he was significantly older than I was. He was like 45 when I was born. So, but he was defined a lot by what he did for a living, and I'm not. That doesn't mean I don't want to do a good job at work, but I don't, he was a career civil engineer and he loved that. And, his love for his career was kind of like my love for my hobby. He can make a living on his, I can't, but he definitely left an impression in my life. And didn't always see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but we agreed on enough different things. Okay, it's time to put the fleshy parts up, which for this guy is only his face. Let's give him a facial. I tell you, imagine your dad would have been perplexed by all the mistakes and stupidity that was shown over the last 2 years. And before that, he was always anti-corruption. Corruption is just bad. If you tell somebody that, what's your favorite color? And you tell them a lie from that, and everything's a lie. Why even have a conversation with somebody who's going to lie to you? You know? Evolution warfare is civilians using geolocation to identify targets, and the fact you can have a resilient comms network without highly vulnerable targetable infrastructure. Yeah, why is the power still on? I just have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. Good morning to you, ex-imperator. Or maybe you are still the imperator. Well, we haven't elected a new one. We haven't raised a new imperator on shields yet. So you, by default, are still imperator, and we didn't have to cut your nose off. Yes, I'm reading Byzantine history right now. There's one guy, I forget who it was. They deposed him, cut his nose off, sent him away. I'm sure one of you guys will tell me who it is. Then he came back. But you can't be emperor with a deformed face. So he wore like a gold fake nose. It was interesting. Interesting. All right. Good morning, Emeritus. Damn it, you're gonna make me look things up and my internet isn't working, which is why we're on this mobile feed. Oh well. We'll look that one up later. You would think that knowing Spanish, Latin would be easy. Hell no. Nope. The Byzantines blinded folks, yeah. That would be a bad punishment for me. I would not do well blind. I would not do it. It's really hard to be a good painter when you're blind, you know? It's a lot easier to compose music when you're deaf. All right, what we're gonna do, we're gonna give this guy a facial. Right, about that. 10 people. I got more people on here when I'm a shitty mobile feed than, it's only shitty because it gets dumbed down to 720. So hopefully you guys are enjoying our, somebody yesterday was saying I should change my Nordic Maelstrom, change it to painting and bullshitting with Tony. It's kind of what it's turned into. I don't mean any, if you guys have different opinions, that's cool. None of us know what's going on. So, you know, it's just speculating. Better than the alternative. What's the alternative to blinding? Cell phones and 12-volt chargers have changed the face of war. I haven't watched much of the footage. No, I don't want to watch it to glorify it. It's just kind of curiosity, but I haven't even done that. I just keep seeing these memes about Ukrainian farmers stealing everything that isn't not nailed down. Hope they got fuel to go with that stuff. All right. We're going to cover all his face except his mustache. This guy's a blonde. This guy's like a light brown blonde guy in all the paintings I've seen of him. Stephen the Great. That's who this guy's going to be. Which is funny because he was kind of like a cousin or third cousin or something like that. He was somewhat distantly related to Dracula at the same time, but they were at odds. And and it's funny. I just reread Dracula's history. I'd read it before recently, and he wasn't that bad a guy. He just took things too far. He's like, people would, if you double crossed him, that's it. I mean, he went from, I think you should just throw him in prison. Screw that. We'll put a pole up his ass. I'm like, oh, okay then. Don't piss this guy off, because he's going to take things to the extreme. And, don't double cross him. Don't double cross him and don't be a beggar. Make sure you're useful in society. But I don't know why Phil Barker would have put him in a greatest general list. He really wasn't that brilliant. But then King John's on the list, so, if he's on the list, then anybody could be on the list, I guess. People aren't exactly flocking to sing that guy's praises in military matters. Just because I think he had one incident where he did something crafty or something. He had a bad publicist. National defense equals Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and Apple. Really? Well, I have a Samsung phone, so. Spanish was also highly influenced by Germanic, Visigoths, and Arabs, Moors. That's right. I got to do a Visigoth army. I got to do a Visigoth army at some point. I gotta have some Visigoth blood in me somewhere. The Israelis had the problem that soldiers would call mommy on their cell phones to complain, and mom would call people to complain. You don't want that. No, you don't want that. You don't want your mom talking to your supervisor, your place of employ. That's actually happened at our company before. Not too many times. They had a problem with some employee, and they would bring their mom in. I'm like, lame. And it's not like we're employing 16-year-olds. It's only happened a couple times, but it has happened. Okay. Now let's start adding. Right now, we want all those Russian moms to start chirping. I wonder what Vlad would have thought about bring your mom to work day. Would the offender receive the stick? I don't know. And he didn't stop the Ottomans, so. And I am going to keep separate win-loss ratios for this guy. Because if you look in the DBMM book, this is actually the army that can have the Polish allies. The Wallachians, even though the army is exactly the same, the only difference is the commander. You know, the Wallachian army has a cavalry commander. These guys have a knight commander. When you use the knight commander, when you use it's the Moldavians. They're the ones that can have the Polish allies. And Vlad's the one that could have the Hungarian allies, even though they weren't really allies for him for very long, and they kind of Matthias kind of double crossed him. So anyways, he's kind of in a pickle. I mean, he's Orthodox in between the Catholics and the Muslims, so he's kind of, you know, kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. This brush is starting to get a tiny little curve at the end. We may have to kick this to the curb, but we'll see how far we can go. This whole thing reminds me of the episode with the Brits. Are we the baddies? Yeah. I know which one you're talking about. That one's hilarious, where the two guys are the SS officers, and they're like, are we the bad guys? And they have all the skulls and stuff on their uniforms. That's a great little skit. And brings up a lot of really good points. Putting skulls on your uniform is never a good sign. It's really hard to be the good guy and have skulls on the uniform. Like you, I've not been watching a lot of this war. I do not think we're seeing accurate information. I don't either. I don't either. Oh, we have a visitor. Hold on one second. I'll be right back because I have no way to mute this feed. Be right back, folks. Okay, almost back. Let me get some coffee and I'll be right here. Sorry about that sidetrack. Just let me know. Just come in and let me know when he's here. Okay? Thank you. Don't hang out everybody. Okay? That's it. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. Well, they claim that we have internet again. I'm not going to get back on it though. I don't want to kick. It says no. We still don't have it. No, we don't need it. So, all right. Like you've been watching a lot of this war. I don't think we're seeing accurate information. We have not had accurate information since the 80s when 24-hour news came out. That was the start of humanity's. Or, I think that that's the thing. I mean, we as the population want. I do. Maybe a lot of people. I would think that most people do. We want accurate information. We don't need, let's create problems so that we have stuff to talk about 24 hours a day. And I think that was the first problem when CNN went to, which I guess it doesn't really, you can't really blame CNN because if CNN had never been created and there wasn't a 24-hour news channel, with the internet now, there would be several of those outlets. So it would have happened anyways. I'm not defending CNN. I'm just saying that, they need interesting programming and we just want the truth. I mean, or the truth as well as you know it. Um, we want to. So you have a. I can't think of a word I'm thinking of, but be accurate. Accurate thing. Not try to skew things a certain way. Because I don't want to hear news that I necessarily agree with. I just want to hear the news. You know. 20-hour news, not real information, many piece of news over and over with a lot of worth opinions. Figuring things out for oneself is the only freedom one truly has. That's true. Use that freedom to make up your own mind, your own decisions. There's a lot of ground truth if you can filter out the noise. We're seeing the illusion of Russian technical capability be wiped away. We're seeing the illusion Russian technical capability wiped away. Yeah. Most people want security, even at the expense of their freedom to see daily government regulation for security in my field and how people react to security versus vulnerability. Russia isn't fielding T-80s, let alone T-90s or T-14s. Well, there's not very many T-14s. I've heard there's less than 200 or something like that. But where the hell are the T-90s? And I'll be honest with you, I used to game Cold War stuff. It wasn't my favorite thing. We used to do Fulda Gap things. And the armor now, I'm not paying attention to modern stuff, so I can't recognize most of the armor. It's got so much reactive crap on top of reactive crap, and they're carrying they've got like these, remember the bed springs that the T-34 85s used to use in World War II that would add them to the projectiles would detonate on that, and on the side it's hurt. They have all these extra crap on them. I can't tell the difference between one thing or the other. And the T-64s, I remember when we used to do micro armor. T-64s were the elite tank. They were elitish tanks that only the Russians had. The other pack nations didn't have them. This is in the 80s. Old Gorby ruined the wargaming opportunities for that, thankfully. But because they could fire the missile through them, whatever missiles fired through it, I don't even remember. They probably discontinued that. I would imagine that would mess up the lining or whatever. But I guess the Ukrainians got the 64s now. So yeah, I can't there's other stuff somewhere. Well, there has to be anyways, so I don't know. Let's just hope they get tired at the end of my news feed and they're like, yeah, this didn't go out how we thought it was. We'll just make peace. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, like I still don't understand why the Russians don't have air superiority with nobody else running no-fly zones, which I think is a wise move. But I'm just surprised. I don't know. Something's going on. It doesn't add up, you know. Cold War gone hot was a huge market for micro armor. I think GHQ CNC made a fortune on the armor that was never fielded even on a tabletop. I have that title for what's that skirmish game that I like and I don't like at the same time? That's out of print. Force on Force. I have the Cold War Gone Hot supplement for that. Force on Force is a interesting game, interesting way of looking at combat. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but Cold War Gone Hot. You help write and play sets and play test Force on Force. I've played it, I think, twice. And they abstract a lot of things that I wouldn't want abstracted. I don't like the part where guys are knocked out and then you roll later and they come back. It's a little too, when you're talking about World War II and modern stuff, I want a little bit more detail. I don't like abstraction, but honestly, my biggest problem with the rules is the rule book's too beautiful. It's too beautiful to use. And I like to protect my books and stuff. I don't even want to turn the pages. It's such a beautiful book, and now it's out of print. It's almost like you buy the book and then and then you buy a digital copy. And then you mess with the digital copy, you know. Autocorrect will be the death of us all. Yeah, I knew what you meant. I don't know why so many of you people put up with it. I don't have it on my I don't have it on my phone, but I needed to take it off to be able to type things in different languages. I communicate with my mom by text in Spanish, so if I have autocorrect on, it would change every single word of my conversation. That would be bloody annoying. All right, let's add a little bit of white to this guy. Oh, did the white dry out again? Blanco. Let's get the Blanco out. The blanky blank Blanco. So yeah, I was watching the news feeds kind of intently, but right off the bat, remember that thing with the Snake Island happened? The 13 guys that told the gunboat, "Hey, go screw your mother. We're not surrendering." And then the media said they were reportedly killed. And then it comes to find out a couple days later they weren't killed. I'm like, okay, I've lost interest. You took something so black and white, and you reported it in a way that seemed that was cut and dry, and that was a simple thing that only involved 13 people, and you couldn't report that correctly. I just kind of lost interest. And I'm not going to get emotionally attached in something that I'm not getting the correct picture. It doesn't mean I'm pro-Russian. Screw those guys too. Should have never. Should have let Patton go loose on those guys. Good old Patton. Sean's going for simulation with force on forces like Ambush Alley and later Tomorrow's War. I also help Piers with Vietnam stuff and Darby with Vietnam stuff for force on force. Love writing gaming rules, but everyone now seems wants to roll, have a wound, save, armor save like 40k. I like different type games. I've never played games with saves, you know? I was working on a set of World War II rules just for our own use. It wasn't like I was commercially published. And it was just super granular. But when I do skirmish gaming, I'm talking about you're running half a squad. Not hey, this is a skirmish game and I'm running a platoon because you're making decisions that a platoon commander wouldn't be doing. But I always like to say I like the game stuff that when it comes to that modern thing, whether it's World War II, modern, especially World War II, because I'm a World War II nut at heart, and you know, I want something that creates these little vignettes, these movie moments. You throw a grenade and you roll to see where it lands, and sometimes it lands somewhere better than what you were hoping for, or sometimes it's bad, and the kind of stuff that happens with that. I like to represent room to room fighting, not necessarily house to house fighting. And yeah, I'm not going to have 12 vehicles or maybe even more than one, but I've done the operational scale micro armor type games before. And I like the real granular stuff. So I've never been one for saves. So like when we were coming up with a set of rules, a lot of what your firepower on a weapon depended on your rate of fire and stuff like that. And then you would take something like say a 50 caliber machine gun. It doesn't fire particularly fast, but you would have, a certain chance to hit someone based on the distance, regardless of whether or not there were a window or not. Okay. So maybe at a certain distance, you had a 20% chance of hitting a person that's at a certain range. And then you would roll to hit the outline of the person, so to speak, right? And then you would roll for hit location on the body where they got hit. And maybe he was at a window, but you hit his abdomen or something like that. And now you would try to roll to penetrate the actual building. And it sounds really complicated, but it's all very linear. Like, okay, is it harder to hit somebody in a window than it is not in a window? Well, not really, but to have an effect on them, sure, because now you have to go through the wall. Well, if you have something like a 50 cal, it's going to punch through a wooden building. So that's where you use those type of weapons, those heavy machine guns, where they can punch through whatever cover you're in, and so it would take that into effect. But there was no save. I mean, it was like you got hit and then this happened. It wasn't like and I think the save system is maybe a little bit better from the standpoint after playing DBA, because both people have, like, when you do an attack on me and I'm just receiving it, I'm just sitting here like, okay, what's going to happen to me? But if I have like a role in defense, I'm more involved in the combat. It's the same way when you have the opposing roles. I think that system is better from the interaction of the game, instead of it's like, okay, well, it's your turn, I'm gonna go make some coffee, and I'll come back, you tell me what you do. Eventually one side gets bored if they're not involved in it. So sorry for the screed. My reason to say all was mostly to say force on force wasn't really designed as a war game. All my favorite World War II game experience: World War II skirmish game with squads and an Empire for hidden movement. If I had to do World War II again, I would run one side, and all the players would run the other one, and that way you don't have that. Because what's really time consuming is you have two people that are trying to play against each other. Hold on, is the GM, come here, let me tell you something. So you have to lead the thing and ask questions, and it's just ask the questions freely, and everybody is playing. You're not playing a game, you're creating a narrative. So I've played those other games. I've played games that were like equivalent to Flames of War. I've done them before. I don't want to do them anymore. You know, are they good to get in? Sure, but I was doing that stuff in the late '80s. That's why you game and why I role play. The cinematic and book scale personal moments, like you said, it is. We parachuted in to take a bridge and simulated our drops by tossing the figures over our shoulder with our backs to the table. You ain't throwing my figures around. You're not playing. We were playing AD&D Second Edition Battle Systems this afternoon. Simple roll to hit armor roll, and that's it. Looking forward to describing what the heroes do on the battlefield. Ogron Foul Breath versus Lord Alphasan. I prefer operational gaming for World War II, and modern skirmish to me works well for medieval and ancient gaming. You like opposing roles. You need to, you got to keep people invested. If people are bored, that's the worst thing. I have played a game, a little bit of a hangnail here. I played a game called, I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's a board game. I guess, is this what happens when you're in your 50s? It's a GMT game, and it takes place in the early Renaissance, where you can play different nations, and it's a really long game. And they actually, well, the second one's called Virgin Queen. So here I stand. Okay, here I stand is the name of the game. I played the game for 10.5 hours. I wasn't bored for a second. That's it. You need to be involved in the game. It doesn't matter that it's a long game. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, as long as you have meaningful decisions to make from turn to turn and you're not bored. I don't know if that makes sense. And opposing roles, I'm kind of new to opposing roles because other than DBA, I'd never played a game that did that. And it works really well. Opposing roles is the way to go. It keeps everybody involved in it, you know? I think we need to get a little bit brighter here. I got sidetracked on this guy's face, but hey, I'm enjoying the conversation. Who says you can't talk about politics and world events? You just have to be civilized about it, and admit that we don't all have the right answer, And if you feel differently than me, then, you're allowed to. You played a lot of huge Pirates game called A Fistful of Seamen. Oh, nice. A Fallout 1 year. The game took place over 15 tables in a school gym. We were narrators and a game master. Wait till you're in my 60s. Facebook says we can't talk about it. You know the problem that I have with Facebook? I really only have one problem with Facebook. And I posted this meme one time, like 4 years ago, and about a year ago, they had a problem with it and like banned me for 30 days. I didn't even create the meme. It's a wonderful meme. Most of you guys have probably seen it. It's brilliant. I don't take credit for creating it. It's this split image. It's a black and white image of Churchill with his V symbol and, and the mustached guy with his outstretched arm. And it's split, and underneath it says, scissors beats paper. And it was wonderful. It's brilliant. It's not promoting that asshole's ideology. And I'm talking about Hitler, not Churchill. I was banned for 30 days for putting that on there. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, you can still go and, you can put GIFs and GIFs or all that stuff, pictures on there of Stalin, and it's no problem. And, he's just as big as an asshole as Hitler was, What, just because we decided to get in a deal with him, he's okay? That's the problem I have with it. I don't have a problem with taking some controversial stuff out. You can't post a swastika. I get it, but you shouldn't put hammer and sickle stuff either. You just need to be consistent. Censorship is evil no matter who or when it's done, supposedly for good. I agree, but you need to be consistent. Stalin was actually worse. Yes and no. He did worse things, but he was more He wasn't as picky. Yeah, they're both bad guys. Just be consistent. Just be consistent. And I don't have a problem painting communists or Nazis or playing either one of them in a game. They're both assholes. I said this before. I won't do Polish armor in in Soviet things. Maybe if I was doing Warsaw Pact, it'd be okay. But in World War II, I'm not. I'm not bringing the Russians to liberate Poland. It just seems dirty. It seems real freaking dirty. Those guys deserve better than that. So, not building Soviet Poles in World War II. All right. I think we need to null oil this guy's ass. Where is my null oil? Mr. Kevin, welcome. He didn't have some crazy ideology. He just starved his own people to grow the food for the army. Yep. He just hated everybody. Yeah, I'm a big World War II fan, but European theater only. I don't really care for the Pacific at all. I don't think it's a good. I don't think it's a good matchup. It's not a very interesting matchup because my favorite matchup is the Russian front. You know, which bad guy do you want to be? You know, I like the desert too, but I like the Russian front, and the Pacific just. I don't like playing Americans. I'm already American. And I don't dislike that I'm American, but it's not very exciting. It's not a way to role play, to use Rob's comment there. You know, I am not a role player, but I do enjoy role playing, so to speak, from a standpoint of, saying silly things in an accent when it's appropriate that it happens to the army that I'm running and stuff like that, learning about the history of other places. But America, it's just freaking boring, you know? And I just don't think the Japanese are a well matched opponent for the U.S. Now I have done stuff in the Pacific, and it's been early war stuff. But once you get in after Guadalcanal, I'm like, I don't bother even doing that stuff. It's not my thing. That's not to downplay the veterans that serve there or anything like that. It has just from a sheer gaming standpoint. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't appeal to me. So, small and Pacific battles are interesting like Taro. I'm glad you like them. They just do nothing for me. You've got one side, it's completely one-sided. One side has complete total air superiority and naval gunfire and outnumber the other guys. Just there's no appeal to it. Now, I could see now I've got some Japanese troops that I would paint. I would do stuff like Malaya or Guadalcanal or stuff like that. I would do Guadalcanal, where things went both ways. But how about China versus Japan as a World War II game setting? Do they make any good Chinese figures? I don't know. I exclusively skirmish game in 20s. So I bet somebody makes Chinese figures. Yeah, that would be okay, I guess. Pacific's interesting. It covers land, sea, and air. It covers a huge geographic area. It was one-sided after 1943. I'm just not interested in it. It's got nothing to do with the veterans or, like I'm big on naval warfare. It was, Americans start creating, one class of ship and they all look the same. And it just not my thing. Just not my thing. Now, I've done naval gaming in the ABDA stuff at the very beginning. That's okay. So you saw some recently, some Chinese figures? Okay. Yeah, that'd be all right. Yeah, mixture of weird stuff that they use. Just not my thing. Desert, I like the desert. I like the desert. Both sides are really interesting in the desert. And yes, I lumped in all the Commonwealth in with the Brits. Sorry. It's not the poo poo people. In naval warfare, I loved playing the Brits in World War II. There's some cool paint schemes. They were everywhere. Cool names of ships. Naval warfare, World War II. I love the Mediterranean. I love the Mediterranean. That is the theater right there. Both sides have big navies that can have aircraft, land-based aircraft, or carriers for the Brits and land-based aircraft. Um, the Italian ships are nice and pretty. Like that convoy stuff. That's where some of my favorite games were. Eureka has 15 millimeter Chinese World War II. Okay. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I never did any 15s until DBA. I was 20s only in micro armor. And we have enough light in here. We need to do. We're not going to do it in this feed because it's not full. It's not full HD. But this weekend, assuming the internet comes up, I'm going to do a little video on my stuff in my display case. And I took all my 20s out and put them on there. And I don't have that many, but I do have maybe 50 figures. And other than the basing, they still look great. They look as good as the stuff that I make now. The basing is horrible. I mentioned at one point I probably would like to start retrofitting some of them and do the basing as I do the basing with this stuff, but I don't want to get sidetracked, and I could very well not paint 20s again. And if I did, I'd probably do Maquis. I would probably do Maquis and have people run Maquis, and I would run the Germans. And you could do small scale, things because the Maquis have a mixture of different weapons. They've got, you know, German and Allied rifles. They've got, Sten guns, Tommies, MP40s, all kinds of stuff. There's females in there with berets. You could have a freaking blast. I got a taxi. I got a taxi that has one of the few things that I bought already prepaid from somebody. So you run around in a little taxi and pour out of there. Maybe they have to capture the just real small scale stuff that would be really well suited for that. Um, but that's going to keep me from painting this stuff. So do I really need to go down that road when you know that I'm going to get a lot of use out of these figures? All right, so we're going to get Flat Earth. We're going to use Flat Earth as the base color for his hair and mustache. I know I'm running my mouth a whole lot, but hey, I haven't been sidetracked and gone and done other things, which is exactly what would happen if I wasn't filming. I got some cool Maquis figures. I keep saying I'm going to pull them out and take a look at them. I knew 20 mil was the big scale in the UK. Is it still a big scale over there? I always did it because when I started gaming in that scale, it was Airfix figures and stuff like that from my childhood. And every vehicle plane was available in that scale. Now the 28s have grown, but I don't have an attachment to the 28s. I never Warhammered anything, so I don't have a tie-in with that scale where it's like, oh, well, I'll just do historical in the same scale I've been doing fantasy and science fiction because I was never doing fantasy and science fiction. Let's see. What paint manufacturer do I use? Mostly Vallejo. And the reason why is because in the early 2000s, I sold on eBay a lot of stuff, gaming stuff I hadn't used in a long time. Now, mind you, a lot is mine a lot, not most gamers a lot, because I have things, but I don't have anywhere near some of you collection people have, where it's just a massive amount of stuff. So I sold my 30 or 40 Battletech mechs that I had. The old white metal Ral Partha ones, Vassal ones from the day. So I hadn't used them in like 15 years. So I sold them. And I sold all my 2400 scale ships because they weren't up to snuff. And, I didn't want to look at them anymore. I had to retrofit so much of them. It's like, if I ever get in them, I'll just start another scale. And I took all those funds and bought paints with them. And I was enamored with the idea of an eyedropper bottle because of reduction of mess, and just basically went little by little buying stuff, all their paints from Brookhurst Hobbies, because they were the ones at the time that carried the Vallejo. And that's why I have mostly of those. Now I've got some Games Workshop paints from the late 80s still alive. I've got a few of those. I've got some Coat d'Arms, which I think I must have picked them up in the mid 90s from the hobby store we used to go to in Tampa. That's because I'm not going to mail order paints if it's not a refill of a color I'm familiar with. And it's just not something I would do, because you don't get an accurate representation of what the color is going to look like on a monitor screen. You've got to like almost take a look at it. And if I'm not refilling the color, I'm just totally, grasping at straws when it comes to stuff like that. It's just not something I would do. But yeah, so you know what? We're going to break in another brush. I'm not going to go to the domestic brushes yet. We want to wear out all these Chinese piece of shits first, that I'm not buying any more of. I actually thought at one point just doing a video and snapping them all in half. But I'm like, I've already spent money on these things, but hey, maybe one day they'll be our friends. Hopefully that's the case. These all kind of suck. Let's break out a domestic brush. Bum, bum, bum. Let's see which one it's going to be. One of these have multiple in the same size. Is it these? Let's use this one right here. And this is one by AIT Art. And they're available on Amazon. I didn't do a proper unboxing on them. I kind of did it in the middle of my thing. And these are actually, well, look, every brush always needs to be tinkered with. Where is my X-Acto knife? It's got one little plume that is out of place. Make sure, if you're going to throw your X-Acto knives in a container, make sure the blades are facing away from you. All right, that's all it takes. Make sure you lick the brush and not the X-Acto knife. Useful tips. You can then also do Yugoslavia partisans versus allies. Just painted a platoon of Norwegians for World War II skirmish. Had to morph Deutsches Afrika Korps and World War I Hungarians to approximate the summer uniforms. A lot of things, whistles in Italy, looks over his room, gaming stuff. Yeah, it gets to the point where I didn't want to look at stuff that I was never going to use again, I didn't just cash out and then go have a meal with it. I put it right back into the gaming hobby. Same thing, I sold some of the stuff I sold with. I bought the Wings of War stuff with the airplanes, and I think I've only played with it twice since I've gotten it. And sometimes you can repurpose stuff and find better use for things. Sometimes you can't. So, all right, let's get his mustache in right. I don't want to have to redo his face, just from a time-consuming standpoint. It's dumb to be inefficient. I had a guy at work he'd have this saying, and it went with, I could do it wrong the first time and then do it again before you do it right the first time. And I'm like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to be inefficient? purposefully doing things wrong. That's really unsatisfying. It's one thing going to school taught me is I hate busy work. Let's get it done so we can work on the next thing. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of this yellow, and I bet there's some left because it's super watery. There is. And we're going to lighten up this brown, but we're not going to go crazy. We don't want them to look blonde, but we want them to look like a little darker. And he does kind of have a face like a seal. Or. Oh, how many times I've washed my brush and my coffee over the years. It's never happened to me before. I couldn't work for the government. Fortunately, I never had to. And there's other outfits that aren't the government that operate that way. We deal with a couple outfits that are just too large, but they're outfits that don't have competitors. So they're like a utility company, and if they do a crappy job, they'll just raise your rates. Competition makes us all better. It should. Monopoly's bad. Do a good job, and then reward people that do a good job. Don't just be like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Well, it is, but most people don't. Fire people that screw up and reward people that do a good job. It's going to be a final highlight here with a little bit of white. And of course, he'll look better when we end up sealing him up. I really wish this guy had a sword and not a mace. I haven't seen any pictures of this particular guy with a mace. But the hairstyle and the mustache and the armor were like perfect for this fellow. All right. Doing a quick Google. Wasn't he blonde? He was kind of a dark blonde. I can't use my Google anymore. Well, I'm not going to be. Are we back on? Well, it says disconnect, but I'm not connected. Still says no internet. No internet. Internet's still down. I have a picture on Pinterest. Oh, this is going to be blurry as crap. He's got a face, looks like a damn Thundercat. Hey, I didn't sculpt him. Could have modified the figure to have a sword. No, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I need to go down that road. Let's give his mace a wooden handle. He's got a face only a Thundercat could love. I didn't even watch that show. Give him the Sword of Omens. Careful what you wish for. They could come true. Also, here's a question for you, Rob. Since you're into fantasy stuff, I've never seen Willow. Should I watch Willow? Is it worth my time watching it? I remember back in, what was it, 87, 88, whenever it came out, it was advertised freaking everywhere, on McDonald's, shit everywhere. And I never got around to seeing it. Is it worth my time watching it? I know you're big into fantasy stuff. Am I coming to Huracan? Yes, because they have no mask mandate. You want me not to show up at a convention? Put a mask mandate in. I'm not going. I'm fine if other people want to wear them. I'm not wearing one for 12 freaking hours. So yes, I should be at Huracan. I only the no Recon. Yeah, I'm going to Recon. Yeah, and same thing Historicon. I'll plan on running games, but it shouldn't be an issue. I think that's kind of just simmered down now. But um, actually pissed me off big time last Huracan. They made a big deal about everybody had to wear one, and then you see pictures, and the two people that were particularly vehemently about you need to wear one for the children weren't wearing one. And nothing pisses me off more than a double talker. So, you just found two statues of him with a mace. Yes, Jared for the assist. Um, yeah, I didn't need to tell him. I don't want to make a scene, but at the same time, and I don't have a problem with them having the mandate. I have a problem with them saying you need to wear a mask. And then when the time came, they turned people away. And when the time came, they weren't wearing one. You're just not allowed. And this is like a week before. So I have a problem with people talking out of both sides of their mouth. I don't tolerate it in my daily life. I don't tolerate it with people at work. And I don't tolerate it when I'm certainly doing something for the hobby. So, you know, don't play games. And I'm not anti-vaccine, so it's not one of those, oh, well, you're going to die. I just don't, I'm just not going to spend all day wearing a mask where I can't understand anybody. I'm hot. Because, if you wear a mask, enunciate, right? So that people can understand, I'm here to take your order. Dude, man, speak the F up. Forked tongues and hypocrisy. Yeah, that's the worst thing. I don't pretend, I don't pretend to be one way, and then when you meet me, I'm a different way. I just expect everybody to be the same way, you know? Anyhow. Yeah, the guy that's running the con now, he's got a hard on for masks. He still has a thing on there, mask recommended or whatever. Just stay out of it. Just let people do what they want to do. Oh, well. Du-du-du-du-du-du. I don't like to tell people what to do, and I demand the same treatment. Not expect, I demand the same treatment. Two pictures with him with a mace. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. Yeah, internet's still down. Oh well. Hey, we're still chugging along. Whatever. I just wish you guys had a better picture quality. I'm sorry I can't do anything about that. So Willow's good, campy for sure. It has some funny moments from a historical perspective. Interesting. It has some interesting kind of sort of medieval troops. Okay. Also, there's counselors. Yep. Yeah, let people do whatever they want. One of them with it upheld in almost that pose. Wow, I guess I picked the right guy then. Excellent. Man, you just made my day, sir. Okay, I know we need to brighten up his armor. Let's go ahead and do that. You know, that's a constant. We know he's going to have brighter armor than this. If anybody can afford to have his armor shiny, it's the guy running the whole damn country. Do Tony or anyone else on here use gray and build up to white when you do your white highlighter? You paint white items on clothes such as British colonial Africa helmets or the Austrian Napoleonics. So I don't know how I'm sure I do it different than everybody else. My painting method I like to call the number line. You know that number line you had in school that was a -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. That's kind of how I paint. So I take whatever my core color is. White's a little different because you got to do it. So let's say my core color is this one, this color. This would be my 0, and my -1 would have a little bit more darkener, which is almost always black. Sometimes it's brown, and I don't have a whole lot of rhyme or reason between which one I do, but you know, it's a little bit more of the darkener. -2 has a little bit more darkener. Number three, -3 has a little bit more darkener. And I start with -3, paint everything with that, then highlight with this one, then highlight with this one, highlight with that, and then go up with the positives. And it's usually a white color, although sometimes it's yellow. And that's how I paint. Now, the only thing that is different is this metallic, because you can't get a darker color than lead belcher, or maybe there's something out there. So what I do is I add Nuln Oil to create a darker lever than lead belcher. And then I'm going to lighten with this lighter color metal. And that's how I've been painting since the mid 90s. Now, why I decided to paint that way, I don't know. I probably saw a White Dwarf, and it was before the whole the three pot painting system they had, but it was probably the same thing. Now, I do the flesh a little bit different. I think the flesh needs a little bit more tones in there than just an additive. So like with my flesh, I end up using black with this, which is red leather, till I get to red leather. And then instead of adding a lightener, I add sunny skin tone. This is if we're doing white people, okay? The other stuff's a little bit different, but still kind of the same idea. Then I use this as the lightener till eventually I get to the point where it has very little of this, mostly this, and then add white to it. That's generally how I do it. And it's worked well for me so far. And you know, that's what I do. Some people, and I always base in black, because if I miss something or there's a little line hidden in there, I would want it black anyways, and it already is. And that's always worked for me. So, you know, that's what I do. The number line thing. I don't know. Did I invent that? I don't know. You know, we all steal from different ideas. You get ideas from all kinds of people. So about the time I started painting that way is about the time that I got that heavy metal painting guide. And I don't know that it shows that particular method I just described, but I don't like washes because I find them very uncontrollable. I used to do a lot of washes when I was doing the micro armor and the ships, but I've become not in favor of it. Likewise with the dry brush. I don't do much dry brushing at all unless I'm doing like chainmail or something like that. And do more of them, almost like a wet dry brush, so I can control it in specific areas where I want it to be. And the comforting thing is, you know, I don't paint particularly quick, but the comforting thing is that I have seen people whose painting I like even more than my own painting, because I like how my things turn out almost always. And there's people who I think paint better than I do. There's always going to be somebody who paints better than you. And I've seen them do their painting things, and they're not any quicker, So the way to paint better is not necessarily finding some. I'm not going to be happy with a paint method that's going to be quicker because I'm going to end up giving up. I'm going to end up giving up how it turns out. So ultimately, I can't think of anything to burn me out on painting figures than not be happy with how they turn out. So that's not the solution. So the only thing I can do to increase production is just paint more often. So every chance I'm getting, I'm trying to do some painting. And again, it doesn't matter how good you're painting it, as long as you, the painter, are happy with it. And screw what everybody else says. Because you'll always paint something. And as a matter of fact, I think I got a comment on one of the things, like the guy didn't like my Dracula flag. Oh, you used the wrong flag for him. Okay, you make your own fucking flag and let's see how you did. I don't care. I'm perfectly happy with the flag is. And you make artistic choices on everything it is. A lot of it is, you have to make artistic choices and you don't have to like it, you know? One of my favorite things. I don't like what you did there in the video. You should do this. Well, you should make your own videos and do them however you want. You know, I don't tell people, hey, you're doing it wrong. I generally, and I can be negative, don't get me wrong, but I'm not negative about stuff in my hobby. Unless you stink. You show up to a game and you smell bad. Yeah, but play however you want. Paint your figures however you want. Be a good sportsman and take a shower. The rest of it's not important, you know? You're a crap painter. Contrast speed paints and washes like Agrax give me the illusion of competence. You know, if you're getting better every time you're painting, you can't be good at everything. Um, when we used to go to the when Mitch and I used to go to the range every month, we used to do some competitive shooting. We used to be cardboard killers. I was like one of the worst people, and I didn't care because I didn't have a lifetime of doing that, and I was good at other stuff, and I felt like I was improving every time I went. I'm competing against myself, not against these masters. You know, so you can't be into everything, and you can't be the best at everything. Uh, but the worst thing is not being a good sportsman. You could be the best player in the world, but if you're a dick and nobody wants to play with you, what good does it really do? We're just going to add some mithril silver. Look, this is old school mithril silver. It even smells like Reagan. That's about when I got it. 88, 89, 90, something like that. Okay, I think that's enough shininess on that guy. Boom, boom, boom. I know we got to do belts and stuff on there. I'm going to go ahead and do the red that I want on his trappings on the horse. So that'll tie in with the flag. Those of you guys that did not see my feed yesterday, where did I put it? We're going to have one of these on the flag bearer. It's going to have one of these flags. More than likely the bottom one or this top one. This one's just too darn big. So. I want to get better. These washes probably just had depth of fear. All time skill. I don't know as much as Pat. I don't know. Recipe for some awesome painting. You just got to stick to it. Just Wisdom. I wonder what part wisdom is. Okay, Chris, thanks for stopping by. You could probably sell that pot of Citadel paint on eBay for 10K, the way things have increased in value from the 1980s. I don't know. Can we go back to the 1980s? I just don't, I want to be an adult in the 1980s. I just don't want to be a kid again. I didn't enjoy being a kid very much. I want to be an adult. I could deal with no internet. I just don't want to go so far back there's no air conditioning. I'm out. Tap me out. All right, let's use a different red so we don't use exactly the same red that's on the shield of this guy. Okay, so we're going to use, I think it's a flat red. I'd like to be an adult in the 80s with my current income. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Still no internet, folks. Not stopping me, though. Right? Still no internet? No internet secured. Even if I had internet, I wouldn't cut this feed to start another one. You know, you guys are obviously watching for some silly reason. I don't want to send you away just to see it in better quality. We'll be on. We're going to be painting a lot this weekend. A lot. So if you want to talk about zany shit, as long as it's civilized, we can do that here. I think everybody gets it. I mean, we're here, you know, this is a, you know, you can. Yeah, we only have early Essex Irregular Museum, Old Glory. I don't know, was Old Glory still around in the 80s? I don't know. I like Old Glory. Yeah, I like Old Glory. There'd be more vehicles with 3 pedals available. I'd be happy. Be no talk of electric vehicles. I'm fine with electric vehicles once they perfect some of that stuff and give me a clutch. I don't care if it's electric powered, as long as they're not, all the parts to make them don't come from nefarious places. You know, go from getting your oil in nefarious places to getting all your materials to build an electric vehicle from different nefarious places, or maybe even the same nefarious places. I'm out, and I want a clutch. That shit's fun. I like playing a video game on my way to work. '80s were interesting. I got married, became a parent. Dixon, Big Chunk. Yeah, those guys are weird. Grendel, I'd be in the army again. You enjoy the discussions. Yeah, it's all good, man. Tony's word of the day is nefarious. It is. It is a wonderful word. It's not too. It's not too. High and mighty. It's not what I want to say, but that's what I want to get at. It's not too theatrical. It's not too theatrical, and you know, it's a nice way of saying you're up to no good, you bastards. Nefarious. I don't want to go to a time where I'm not in charge of my own income. So, wouldn't mind going at an earlier time. I just don't want to be a kid in it. So, there's something really empowering about going and making it on your own. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I need to make millions. I don't care about that. That's, but you need to be like independent. So it's empowering. It's empowering to have responsibility and be able to make decisions and people trust your decision making and that kind of stuff. I don't want to go back to a time it's not too nefarious. You prefer LA raps you prefer I think the spell correction screwed you there. Rapscallion, you have ill intent, and upon your words I shall not find truth. Okay, I think you got raped by the spell checker in there somewhere. You prefer away, Rapscallion. You have ill intent, and upon your words I shall not find truth. Nice. So you've been playing Odyssey. I played it a lot, man. That's some really almost wanted me to dig out my Athenians and paint them up. That's a beautiful game, just an absolutely beautiful game. I don't love the storyline of those things, but um, I like those video games where you're like, you look up and there's a freaking hill. Like, I know it's not part of my mission, but I want to know what the hell's up there. So you climb up there, and hopefully you don't encounter a lion that's level 20 when you're level 4 and you get eaten. But you know what? You'll get that lion back and you'll kill that bastard when the time comes. I like games like that. Like, I wonder what's up there. So you go and find it. And, there can be a storyline, but you can kind of make your own narrative as you go. I like those games. Open world type things. I like racing games where there's not a set track. What makes me so sad is there is no autocorrect for Rapscallion. All right. I think we need to switch to some water. Let's get some clear liquids in here. All right, back. I have an idea. I have an idea. All right. Internet is still down. But I need to access Pinterest because I got pictures of this dude on here. I'm going to create a hotspot after I delete all these notifications. Jesus. Okay. Which one does the hotspot? I use it so little. Let's see. It's none of these icons. Mobile hotspot. Hopefully my feed doesn't go to shit here for a second. We on? I think so. So now, have the computer find the hotspot. And I'm connected. All right, now we will take a look on Pinterest, which I wish was easier to use. It's kind of like Instagram, kind of a pain in the ass to use. All right, let's go here and go to Moldavian Nights. Here he is. What color hair is this guy? All right, yeah, he's blondie. He's not super blonde. Super blonde. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's take the hotspot off. For multiple reasons, we don't want that on there. I wouldn't want to go back in time because I would have to relive the last 2 years. Oh, okay. Well, I'm fresh out of unobtainium, so I can't get the time machine running anyway, so you're safe. What movie is that from, where they had unobtainium? Silly name, but it's still better than the name of most modern dinosaurs. Utah Raptor. Stupid. All right, let's see if we can. That should be good enough. Mm-hmm. All right. The Core. I haven't seen The Core, though. Maybe there's another movie that does that. I haven't seen The Core. I look at a plot Core and I'm like, it's just not my thing. Maybe it's Transformers or something like that. One of the Transformer movies, or you can't. You guys can't see this guy clearly. I'm sorry. Sorry on the 720 feed. All right, back to red. So the Earth's core was made of, the Earth's borer was made from unobtainium. I hear borer, and I remember that kid. That movie I watched as a kid, and for the longest time I was trying to figure out what movie it was, and it was a movie that I saw on TV in the late '70s. And so we were in Alabama at the time, and I was big. The very first thing I was big into was dinosaurs. And you're talking like 1976, 77, 78, 79. 80s was started getting into World War II stuff, but first thing I really liked was the dinosaurs and stuff like that. And there was this movie that came on TV and involved that boring thing where they bore into the center of the earth. And I found out what the name of a movie. It's a horrible movie, I'm sure, absolutely horrible. But when you're a kid, and you got stuff like the dinosaurs on Land of the Lost and just dumb shit that we had in the '70s, then that's all you got to go on. And it's a movie called The Last Dinosaur. Where I remember this guy stayed behind to hunt a Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever, and they had this drill boring machine that goes into, I guess it's the center of the earth or whatever. That's where all the dinosaurs are still hanging out, singing "Kumbaya." And yeah, stupid plot, but I remember that as a kid liking it. It was one of the few opportunities I had as a kid to see dinosaurs on film. They weren't like the Jurassic Park movies and stuff like that where you're spoiled now. You had just sheer garbage, you know, just sheer garbage for dinosaurs. Arizona has raptor fossils, but I don't think called Utah. Yeah, they found a new dinosaur thing. It was 20 years ago, probably, but well after I was into dinosaurs. Hey, raptor in Utah. What do you call it? Utah raptor. Really? Also, Avatar. Maybe that's where it was from. I didn't care for that movie. It was well done. I didn't care for the movie. The ride's pretty cool. The ride at Animal Kingdom's pretty cool. They'd use lizards with horns attached. Remember those old lizards, those iguanas from Journey to the Center of the Earth? They had the big floppy. They were like supposed to be like dimetrodons, and they had the big floppy sail on their back. Yeah, when you're a kid, you want to see all those monsters. You want to see the big squid from 20,000 Leagues, the Kraken. Unleash the Kraken. Look at it now, lame. The new Kraken's awesome. Now he's bigger than a freaking city. Don't piss that guy off. Utah Raptors, what the Velociraptor is in Jurassic Park. And I'm old school. Dinosaurs don't have feathers. I don't care what they come up with next. That's a relatively recent, addition. And I like the Jurassic Park movies, what they are, but I don't give a shit about the raptors. They're small. I want to see big Godzilla creatures just bore in and destroy cars and stuff like that. When I was into dinosaurs as a kid, I didn't care about these little chicken things. Yeah, the regular raptors are just real chicken-sized ones. So, yeah, the Ray Harryhausen was awesome as claymation. Yeah, and the cool thing, and I mentioned this on another feed the other day, is somewhere somebody has these freaking toys because they're reasonable sized. They come to life. They came to life on film. That's that's freaking awesome. As a modeler, that's awesome. You know. Hopefully they're still around. Nobody destroyed them. That'd be a that'd be a dick move. But yeah, and I still have this idea. I'm going to do a dinosaur game. Somebody actually came up with rules for it. I can't do everything. Um, and I'd run it just like Pig Wars. If you've ever played Pig Wars, it would be just like that. Um, you've got a triceratops and her baby or whatever. They just want to get off the board, or you've got all kinds of different stuff going on. But I don't have time to do all the terrain and stuff. I don't want it to look like crap. So saw some of them in Planet Hollywood, some of the skeletons from Jason. I've actually never been to Planet Hollywood, and I've never seen the Argonaut movie. I haven't. I should, but I've seen all the Sinbad movies. I haven't tried to avoid it. It just hasn't been on. Kellum running a Pig Wars Dino Hunter game. Yeah, but is it dinosaurs against dinosaurs? That's what I want to see. Kellum, will he be in costume? Since he likes costumes so much, he should wear one of those Tyrannosaurus type costumes where people do the stunts, riding skateboards and shit around a neighborhood, right? He could be wearing that whole costume since he's into costumes and stuff. That boy has no shame. That boy has no shame. And we are going to lighten this up with white, even though it's going to make it a little pinkish. You just got to go easy with the white. Can't go crazy. One of my favorite non-DBA type games that I ever played at a con was when Chip, I think it was Chip, ran a Three Musketeers game, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But that's a great venue for a game, you know? I mean, how many times can you say, haha? Well, all of them. That was a hoot. All right, we talked about movies last night. Here's a question for you guys. You guys into zombie movies? What's your favorite zombie movie out there? There are hundreds more dinosaurs than when I was a kid. Absolutely. There are, and they're all named dumb. Most of them are just named really, really dumb. I guess scientists aren't really good at advertising. Maybe the other ones are named dumb too before that. We just got used to what they were called. Zombie movie, favorite zombie movie. I like that one that's in the mall. I forget what it's called, but they're all the name the same. They all have the same damn name. That's the problem with it. Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, one of those. The shopping mall one was cool. It's funny. I actually like the zombie genre, but it's not about the zombies. It's about there's no rules. So what do you do? You know, what rules do you instill? One of my favorite games of all time that I've ever played on console is a zombie game. Still is. But a lot of people just don't know about it. Xbox only, and it's called State of Decay. And I absolutely love that game, and I've played the living hell out of it. The one where they're shooting a celebrity look like a zombie from the mall roof. It's the same one. It's the one I like. Yeah, that's a great movie. Shitty ending, but lots of movies have shitty endings. Yeah, it's a great movie. That was the one that was recommended by Mitch for me to watch. And it's something of the dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, whatever. It's one of the. They all have the same. They all have the same confusing, dyslexic type name that unless you pay a lot of attention to them, they all sound the same. Okay, Les Saddles. We're going to do a traditional blonde saddle. Yeah, shoot Elvis or something like that. Yeah, I enjoy them, but I don't enjoy them from the zombie aspect. They're just a survival thing. Like the first one, Night of the Living Dead. Can't watch it. Why? It's black and white. Which is like from 1968, right? Like there's been color for like years. You just couldn't afford color. Hadn't seen it. That's slow zombies, right? When did the fast zombies become a thing? What was I watching the other day that was zombie related? Oh, I know that stupid thing that I this one guy that I know, he likes every single thing. You got people that complain about everything. This guy likes every single movie. And so he recommended, I knew this going in, so I had really low expectations. And it's a Netflix movie called Black Summer. And there's two seasons. The first season's actually okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And it's just funny because it's like these people, you'll have like a crippled person that can barely walk. And as soon as they turn, and they turn quick and they're fast, as soon as they turn, all of a sudden they're like freaking Usain Bolt. They can freaking take off and everything. One of the people in the I'm gonna spoil it for you. I don't give a shit. One of the people they encounter is a deaf mute. Doesn't make a sound, and as soon as she ends up dying, all of a sudden she's got a lot to say. It's death, the cure-all. Season one's worth watching. It's interesting. It cuts right to the chase and starts with it doesn't worry about how the zombie plague started, which is probably the right way to go. you know because if you start detailing that too much, people will be like, well, that's not theoretically possible. Who cares? That's not what who cares, Nerdenheimer? Well, just enjoy the movie. But season one interesting. It kind of jumps around a little bit, and it shows you something that happens, and then you go and see the same thing from different characters' viewpoints. I think that was kind of a unique way to do it. But season two is god awful. It just I can't. I'm stuck in the middle of it. I'm walking away from it. It is just hard to follow. Poor. Oh well. Sure, other people like it, whatever. But I knew that going in with the first one, so I had kind of low expectations, and it was okay. It was interesting. 28 days later, had fast zombies. What was the first movie that had the fast zombies, and why did they decide to do them fast? I just never made sense that you would be faster as a zombie than you would be in real life. I know, overthinking it. I don't know that I've seen 28 Days Later. I want to say I started watching and I wasn't captivated by it. If it's the one that starts off with they're somewhere in like the UK and they're barricaded like in this house or in this barn or something. And I made it about 5 minutes in and I just lost interest. Whatever movie that was, that's the one I started watching and just didn't. We just have access to so many things. When something isn't like a grade A thing or you're not captivated by it, I just move on to something else. And unfortunately, I can't just play it while I'm painting because I'd end up getting sidetracked and sucked into watching it, even though I didn't even like it. And I wouldn't get any painting. Actually, the paint would dry on my brush, and next thing you know, I'm replacing brushes. So I'm not really compatible with that with that type of thing, unfortunately. Otherwise, I could get through some television painting, but not really compatible with me, unfortunately. I don't really care for television much because it's just kind of mindless. I enjoy things that I'm always thinking about. It doesn't need to be hard thinking, but I always like to exercise my brain. I always wondered if zombies stop decaying or do they fall to pieces after a while. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe as long as they get brains, they don't fall apart. That is a good question. What was that movie with Brad Pitt? With the zombie movies, and they're fast and that. The first half of the movie is actually good, and then it just goes to shit. Once they start clambering the walls in Israel or whatever, I'm like, World War Z, is that what it is? There's a lot of movies that are that way. They start strong and then they just like. There's not too many movies that are the other way that start off weak and then they end up being like, man, that was a great ending. It's usually the other way. It's like, did they run out of funds or desire or who knows? I think it's World War Z. Yeah. They didn't screw around. They just, bam, you're in, and this is what it is. And, it's not a science class, it's entertainment. So, do we have internet? Nope. And the rain is long gone. Oh, well. So we'll just stream on mobile all weekend. If it comes to that, it comes to that. All right, let's get our buff color out here. I know we got the buff color here somewhere. What color I like to use for the rain for the not the reins, the stirrups. I used to make them out of metal, and I realized most people don't have the metal stirrups, so I think this looks better for contrast purposes. Night of the Living Dead. Is that worth watching? Maybe I'll just have a crazy bone in my body and decide to watch that one time, even though it's in black and white. I'll have some whiskey while I'm watching, and I won't care. Hey, I'm easy. 1968, I think, is when it came out. I feel like this guy needs to have a bright colored sword sheath. Not blue. Surprised there's not a shitload of posts there on the Facebook page there for our neighborhood saying, is your cable out too? I'm just wondering when the cable's out. Or internet is out. It's all good. Like I said, I was painting one army several years ago, and it was my Nan Chow, and it was in hurricane season. And the hurricane didn't come close to here, but it was windy enough that we did lose power. And I was in the middle of painting, and I have these little glasses that have these LED lights on them, and they're actually really bright. And I finished painting. The army while I had no power. So where there's a will, there's a way. Oh, really? This is all like limp and weak? All right. Oh, but then we need this in blue. F it. He's got the funds. If I don't like how it looks, I'll redo it. How are you seeing you if the internet's out? Because I'm streaming on mobile. That's what I used to do before. Before I had a reliable internet, I used to stream all on mobile until about 8 months ago. The problem with streaming on mobile is YouTube detects that it's a mobile connection. And because it's a mobile connection, it's maxed out at 720. Like I'm not filming at 720, but YouTube's sending it up and processing it at 720. So if it looks like it's crappier quality than it normally is, that's the reason why. And it's using my bandwidth or whatever, but I've got unlimited, so I don't really go over it. So, hey, it's for a good cause. And so that's why. And even if the internet was on, I'm not going to switch over. We got people on here. At some point, I'm going to have to stop, and probably when I'm done with this figure, I'll go spray him and stuff. And then we'll pick up a little later. I've got no big plans this weekend other than, let's see, want to go to the gym today. Need to go to one store and do a shitload of painting. So one of those things involves you guys. The other ones don't. So we'll be back. Now, is the bronze still alive? This big bronze turd that I dropped over here. Ooh, I don't remember doing the handle of his sword. Oh, I did it. Okay. Zombie movies are stupid. The damn Russians still found me in here. Zombie movies are stupid. They are. Very unrealistic. They are. I prefer alien invasion. See, I prefer zombies. Because I think zombies are more realistic than an alien invasion. I just don't believe in aliens. Show me one and then we'll talk. But I don't like alien invasions. I don't. For example, there's a movie that came out that was pretty cool. I thought it was actually a very good movie until the ending, and that's the second Cloverfield. The second Cloverfield, where the guy's hiding in the bunker. John Goodman. That was an excellent movie till the last 3 minutes. And then they throw aliens into it, and I'm like, this is just stupid. I don't do aliens. I find aliens way too unbelievable. I find aliens too unbelievable in things that are set in current time period. So, if you're dealing with Star Wars, okay, well, everything's an alien. But if you're dealing with like modern day, internal combustion engines and the aliens show up, Yeah, I'm out. Not my thing. Not my thing. But hey, that's why they make different movies. Government has plans for both. Show me a fucking alien. Then we'll talk. I think it's one of the most unbelievable things that, show me an alien. Then we'll talk. All right. I don't think we have any of this left that's alive. Yeah, so stuff like Independence Day, just dumb shit like that. I hated that movie. And it's probably not the best alien invasion movie, but zombies isn't about the zombies for me. It's about that there's no rules and you need to survive and you're finding weapons and God, what was I watching the other day? Oh yeah, Black Summer. There's a couple episodes of Black Summer that I'm like, these guys are just fools. Okay, you can't get your hands on firearms. It's fine. So take a table and freaking break legs, and you carry around a couple table legs. But you don't just go away and like I'm just gonna run away from everything, dude. Arm yourself. A stick, a rake. I mean, anything. I'm going down freaking fighting. Only one of us could be one. Never know. Yeah. Yeah, that forehead nose bridge looks very Thundercats. It just doesn't it? It does. It really does. Oh, well. That'll be the inside joke, right? Beauty and the Beast-esque. That's right. Meow. Well, if he looks like a pussy, let's hope he doesn't fight like one. Oh, we're going to have fun with this guy already. Oh, man. I love it. I love it. Make fun of your own folks. What did they used to say? Thundercats. Ho! God, I didn't even watch that show. Speaking of old shows, one of the coolest things I ever saw, and I should have mentioned this last night when we were talking about it. You thought Gustavus Adolphus was supposed to be the Lion of the North. There you go. We were talking about TV shows from the 80s, and one of the guys was mentioning that he'd like to watch G.I. Joe and Transformers, all the stuff that we used to watch as kids. This guy at Historicon, well, the last Historicon I went to, so not this last year where they moved it. So what it would have been, 2019? He had this whole setup where he had made this battle with G.I. Joe, a G.I. Joe themed battle. And it wasn't with action figures. He had 3D printed them in 28 millimeter or 30 or millimeter or something like that. And he had all the equipment. And I'm like, oh my, we would have had a blast. Mitch and I were walking by there. I'm like, we would have had a blast playing that. But again, it depends who else is playing the game with you. If you're playing with people that are sticks in the mud, you know, probably wouldn't be any fun. But Baba Black Sheep is the one I missed from the 80s. The old Corsair pilot thing, that was from like the 60s, wasn't it? I mean, I would have seen it about that. I've seen a couple of episodes of it. But Yeah, I really, a lot of it is like, back when, back when we had TV, we had to watch whatever the hell was around. It was not like you had access to all this stuff and YouTube, and you have access to everything. But yeah, this GI Joe game was freaking awesome. It had trouble bubbles and tanks and all the characters, and I thought it was really neat. It was a big production. I want to say they even had the information of the characters on like little data card things like they had on the back of the toys. Obviously, they weren't the same. They were done in game format, but that was pretty cool. Kudos to those guys that came up with that. 1976, apparently. I thought it was from the 60s. Yeah, I've seen a couple episodes on it, but it wasn't like available like on channels that we would get. Otherwise, I'd watch all that stuff. But um, all right, let's do rain. Ooh, this dried up. I just put this out, didn't I? Oh no, the buff's over here. All right. How long have we been on? We've been on the mobile connection for over 3 hours. That's pretty cool. Well, I'm telling you, I'm getting this mother done. Okay, we have the horsehair. I think I'm gonna lighten this horse up a little bit more white. So the challenge is gonna be to find out which one of these colors I used as the base color. I'm pretty sure it's that one hanging out right here. That's another reason I don't like to putting these paints away is I know that if I need to go back and remix one of them, it's probably one of the colors that's sitting right here. And I want to say it's silver gray. It was silver gray. It looks kind of brown here, but not that brown here. As a kid on Saturday mornings in Australia, we used to have a TV series in black and white that was all samurais and ninjas, but I can't remember what it was called. It doesn't ring a bell. Sounds like I'd want to see that as a kid. Sounds pretty cool. Australia. Yeah. Never heard of that. Maybe it didn't make it to the States. I was looking for that Australian film the other day. I wanted to show it to my daughter. I think she'd get a kick out of it. And it's that Red Dawn type movie. And I saw it a couple years ago. It's called something along the lines of the day the war began or something like that. And I thought it was pretty decent for a young adult type movie. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. Certainly better than Red Dawn. And they'd taken it off the streaming services, so it'll be back on. But I'm pretty sure that's an Australian production. And if I remember correctly, I'm always looking at stuff like that with maps and stuff, and it doesn't really touch on where it happens. But I almost think like it's like a Brisbane. It's like the Chinese invade Brisbane, or something like that. The Day the War Began. The series was even better. Is it a book series or is it a TV series? I thought the movie was all right. I mean, you know, I welcome foreign movies and stuff like that, you know? Both. You're talking about the TV. There's a TV series. Okay. The Day the War Began. I'll have to look for that. I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. All right, we're going to add a little bit of white to this and a little thinner. The thing about the thinner is that it allows things to be a little bit more transparent. So the transition between color and color is smoother and therefore also more forgiving. I know that sometimes using a similar style to this, especially with flesh, I remember somebody in the days of using a miniatures page used to call it, use the flesh that would look like meat cutting charts. And I thought that was really funny because that's about what it looks like on the face. So I just use this thinner, almost like re-wetting drops for the brush to keep the paints running smooth. And I just happened upon it. I had this stuff, and I'm like, well, let's see what you can do with it. And I've been pleasantly surprised how it allows to keep things moving smoothly. Let's see if we can put some pure white in here. And if it's not a completely white horse, that's fine. White horses aren't completely white anyways. It's based on a young adult book series by John Marsden that is brilliant. From the perspective of a teen girl, maybe your daughter would like it. Mine love it. I will. She's been so busy with studies, but she was on a book tear. And she likes dystopian stuff. That's her words. She says, I like dystopian things. I said, okay. And yeah, she hasn't had much time to read lately. She's been kicking ass with her studies. Okay. Horsehair. Horsehair hooves. Horsehair hooves. Water. Be right back. turned off. Don't need that lamp anymore. Okay. What do we got? Nothing. We got nothing. All right. Where do we leave off? We need to do the horsehair. All right. So what we're going to do is let's take this SS Camo Black, whatever the hell it is. I probably have to put more of it. It's probably already dried out. I may have actually used it yesterday, and it would make sense it would be dried out. And we're going to take the same gray that we painted the horse, which we're probably going to need more of over here, silver gray. The naming of some of these colors is not necessarily accurate. Now that one's probably not a bad representation, but there's one I got called golden yellow, and it's not golden at all. It's like lame yellow. All right. We're going to take this brown, damn near black. I think I called it that before. It's this damn near black color. And take this light color, and then we're going to mix the two. And we're going to use this as the dark shade for the horsehair. And then we need to do hooves. And it's probably everything on this guy. All three will be done. We'll spray paint them in gloss. Then bring them in here. And flat coat them and then goop away. But in the meantime, we're going to take a break after we're done with this figure. Go offline. Do some other things that we need to get done today. And then we'll be back. We'll be back this afternoon. I don't think it's even going to be evening. We'll be back in the afternoon. Hopefully when the internet is back. Because I want to have access to the internet to look at... I have some links for some Polish nights. And I want to start working on that stuff. Okay, so let's add more of this core color here. Now, if the touchback is one ear, I got one of the horse's ears I didn't even touch. Easy fix. I don't know if I'm going to touch it any more than that. I think that's probably enough. Enough of a contrast. Still want him to have light colored hair. Could almost get away with painting this guy's eyes, but nobody else in the nobody else in the army has eyes painted. So my preference is not to paint figures' eyes. No matter how good a job you do, they're going to be significantly larger than they really are in real life. So he's going to have this face of surprise, like, do you really want a surprise Thundercat? You know, "Arr?" you know. All right, me hooves. Green gray, where is the stone gray? The stoner gray. Far out. When did Poland send allies to Wallachia? 1400s. I want to say like 1440. I can look that up. I've got the DBM books behind me. I'll take a look at that. I want to say like 1440. Maybe a little later. I'll take a look in a sec. According to the Book of Barker, of course. You could look it up, but it's just easier to see what the book says in wargaming terms. Anything else I can see on him? I probably do a better job with the bronze on the handle here of this dagger. It's not visible. The bronze isn't visible from the front on it. There we go. I'm gonna call this dude done. Let's take a look at your question there, Kevin. Book 4. Moldavians. Polish allies. It doesn't say. which means they're allowed during the entire period of 1330 to 1517. Oh, Moldavians after 1400 is when they become knights. So I guess technically after 1400. Yeah, doesn't say here. So after 1400, that's what we're going to represent them. So we got the general here. We got the banner bearer, and we got the other guy here. And we said we wanted to clean up the nose ring on this guy. So let's do that. That'll just take a little bit of the old red. First of all, let's start with black. Oh, we don't want to use that one. She's one we got a little bit better control with. I'm not getting very good control with that one. Okay, now we just need to fill in with this red. I need the smallest of dots. That's the flat one. Scarlet. Okay. There they are. So we're gonna go spray these guys down, and we'll be back on later, hopefully with the internet, so you guys have better quality of a video. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by, and I don't even remember how to close this thing off the phone. That tells you how long ago I've streamed on here. But we will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.